Hi everyone, so summer's finally back in England, so I can finally get out to do some more scooter videos, which I'm really excited to do. So just a very short video today really, but what I'm going to be doing today is just talking about something that I've noticed on this voltmeter here on my scooter. Now I think many scooters have this voltmeter, and to be honest I didn't really know what it was meant to do before, and I was really sort of confused. I always knew that the voltmeter went down as the battery life went down the scooter. And also I noticed that when you're going up and down hills and stuff, it sort of varied. But I had no idea that it had any sort of effect on the speed or top speed or anything to do with the performance of the scooter. But what I was doing is I was going along in winter and relatively low battery levels. And I noticed that suddenly my top speed wasn't as high as it used to be. So I actually thought at the time my scooter was broken at that point. But after charging up the scooter, the performance suddenly went back to the way it was, as good as new. So I suddenly realised that there was obviously like some sort of correlation between the performance of the scooter and this voltmeter and what it's actually showing. So I just thought what I'm going to do today basically is make a video where what we're going to do is we're going to create a graph. Very exciting, I know, not really, but it should actually give you a sort of some key ideas as to how the voltmeter affects the performance and what goes on with it. So I've got Excel handy, which I'll show you in a minute. But what I've been doing over the last few days is essentially driving out and about on my scooter, using up the battery life every now and then, recording the speed that I was doing, and then comparing it to what the voltmeter reading was at the time when I was doing that drive, if you like. So you may, you'll probably already know that there's the voltmeter drops when you go up and down hills. So what I've been doing is driving around about town, trying to find sort of small hills, small slopes. I've also been trying to wear down the battery by doing this actually. So I've done tons of these tests, and let me tell you, this took me absolutely forever. The battery on this thing lasts ages. But let's have a look at some of these examples of me driving in about, recording my speed and voltage on the scooter. By the way, for these tests, I did it in eco mode on de-restricted. So normally at full battery mode, this does around 20 miles an hour. But let's obviously see how this varies as the performance is slightly less. So that's essentially what I've been doing, driving around, collecting data for this graph, which I'm showing you right now. So you can see on the left-hand side there is all the voltages that I collected speeds at. You can see there's tons and tons and tons of them. And then I recorded the speed in kilometers an hour. I did that because it's obviously a slightly higher number, so it's a bit more granular when you look to the depth. I've actually got another tab I'll show you in a sec where it's in miles an hour. And what I'll do as well is I'll post these onto the description on the bottom or something on the video, so you'll be able to sort of open them up and see them if you want to see pictures of these graphs and what it does. But it is quite interesting. So you can see on the y-axis you have speed in kilometers an hour, and along the x-axis at the bottom you've got the scooter voltage. And what you see is essentially what happens is the scooter doesn't lose performance at all the way up until you get to around 47 volts. It stays at around 20 miles an hour or 32 kilometers an hour that whole period of time. And then what happens is you suddenly get a bit of a drop, and what it does is it then drops from 47 volts, it drops down to around about 29 kilometers an hour, where it stays flat for a little while as well, up until you get down around about 45 volts, and then it drops again down to around 26, 27 kilometers an hour. From then on, there is a slight decline in the speed all the way gradually as the voltage drops, right up until you get to around, I think it's the sort of high 21 volts. And then you'll see there's a gap, big gap in data between that and then the lowest score, which is because actually it drops very, very quickly at that point, where the voltage drops away and then falls, the speed drops away and falls very rapidly, as does the voltage actually. So the voltage drops very quickly in terms of time of the battery life, and that's why I was only able to do two readings then, basically when the scooter was just barely drabbling along, going really slowly. So you do get, amazing performance out of this scooter. I mean, the voltage in between, 54, which is not normally the sort of starting voltage of the scooter, all the way down to 47. I mean, that's the majority of the battery life anyway. It lasts ages. And then you do get a long periods of time, and it took me ages trying to wear down the battery life just from those higher voltages as well, where the performance was still pretty decent. It's only really when you get down to sort of 43 volts that the performance really starts to drop away. And like I say, for that last little bit, I mean, the scooter's just barely dragging along anyway, and I had to stop then anyway. I just stopped and went home before it went completely to zero, because I didn't want to get stuck in the middle of nowhere. So let's just quickly show you what it's like in miles per hour. So that's, again, so the scooter is normally around about 20 miles an hour as the top speed. You can just see how obviously that correlates, and it changes and then it drops away in the same fashion. But I found it quite interesting because it's not just a sort of linear drop gradually as the sort of the voltage drops away. It does have certain steps to it, where it sort of holds its performance for certain periods of time and then falls away quite rapidly, particularly obviously at the end, which is before it runs out of battery life and it drops away. But thank you very much. As I say, I'll put these graphs and stuff in the description, but I hope you found that a little bit interesting, and so now I know a little bit about what the voltage does. So yeah, give us a shout in the comments if you have any comments or suggestions about any other videos or something like that. Cheers, bye.